That's a good sign for the rest of the evening. I really appreciate that. 175 years is, well, for me it's a long time. For others, they could be a drop in the bucket. But I have 175 years, from humble beginnings of our church, and 175 years from 3 different places of worship, ending up in this one. It's just been a marvelous journey so far. And the First Congo has come a really long way, very long way. And our latest addition, David Caton, is going to give us a welcome. So David, gentlemen, if you come out also.
Well, that great bard, Billy Joel, once sung, "I would rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints." But I trust this evening that Billy Joel's comment will be turned on its head. It's the saints who will be laughing this evening. And of course, the Bible can be used to justify our conviviality. In 2 Chronicles, God's people are to be joyful and in good spirits. God, too, joins in this mirth and jollification. According to Deuteronomy, God takes great delight in the saints. God even encourages effervescence of merriment, because, according to Job, God fills our mouths with laughter. The psalmist says God puts joy into our hearts. Even the bellicose Romans celebrated God's laughter. They called God Jovi, which is where we get our word joviality from. And our felicities and elations should especially include both singing, according to the prophet, and giving, according to 1 Corinthians. God loves a cheerful giver, writes Paul. The word he uses is where we get our word hilarious from. God loves a hilarious giver. Even Jesus tells us in the Sermon on the Mount to laugh and be overjoyed, which is exactly what we intend to do. And so, with hilarity and joviality, joy and mirth, offer your songs and talents as gladdening gifts of gaiety and good humor, causing glee and grins, good spirits, and generally speaking, a good time for all, because, as the Yiddish proverb goes, what soap is to the body, laughter is to the soul. Thank you.
It is a wonderful old Welsh tune. Well, 1938 Welsh tune. I thought it was old. The American composer and songwriter George Gershwin composed the next song, The Man I Love, and our own Donna Bloom has prepared it for us. Donna?
Well, first I have to tell you why I'm doing this. I'll take you back, since this is a historical evening, I'll take you back to 1960, when the Blooms arrived in Ithaca. We would probably have been Presbyterian, but the church here needed a choir director, and so I was hired for $15 a Sunday to direct the senior choir. The man who was minister at that time was Howard Cork, a wonderful Welshman. Now, Howard could play the piano in any key for any song you wanted to sing. So we often did this at small social gatherings. But then we got the idea that maybe it would be fun if I sang The Man I Love for the whole congregation. At that time, this area that the choir uses now had a stage, and the beautiful Steinway, which was the gift to the church from Dick and the Flights, was down here. So we thought this would be a great thing if I sat on the piano, crossed my legs with their fishnet stockings, and we performed. Unfortunately, we didn't get that chance. And Howard left the ministry at one point, became assistant at the vet college, and went on to New York to head a foundation and become a very favorite docent at St. John the Divine in New York. He encouraged me as a Welshman to go to Wales to the Eisteddfod, which is the international festival for singing, which the Welsh established at the end of the Second World War. Choruses come from all over the world, but there are many of the Welsh choruses there, and particularly the male choruses, who are so wonderful. They sang that year to the Arodest, and I was so overcome. In fact, I was overcome when they rehearsed tonight, that I called up the music store at Aberystwyth, and after they, took the message in Welsh, then we got through to each other, and ordered it and brought it back for this choir, and so it's a very favorite of mine. So that's the connection of our degrees tonight. When the mellow moon begins to beam, every night I dream a little dream, and of course Prince Charming is the he for me. Although I realize as well as you, it is seldom that a dream comes true. To me it's clear that he'll appear. Someday he'll come along, the man I love, and he'll be big and strong, the man I love. And when he comes my way, Tuesday will be my good news day. You built a little home just meant for two, from which I'll never roam. Would you? And so else above, I'm waiting for the man I love. Hey, I got rhythm, I got music, I got my man. Who can ask for anything more? Who can ask for anything more?
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I was stopped recently by George in a panic. George Hudler is here. He barged in and he said he has to talk to us. He has to talk to us. And there's something that he's learned. He's discovered some information that is very important to all of us. It's critical. He can't keep it can't keep quiet any longer. He must tell us about this. Now, he's also sent letters upon letters upon letters upon emails to all the major networks. And you know, they haven't responded yet. He is incensed. George, what is it that is so important that you've come all the way from Dryden to tell
It's
us?
a long ways. It was a long trip. I wasn't sure whether I'd be intercepted by the Gestapo or not, but I made it.
Thank you. It is.
And tonight I have to share with you an item of utmost importance, something that I think all of you cannot live without knowing further, and so I appreciate this opportunity to interrupt this otherwise evening of frivolity for an opportunity to bring this grave announcement to your attention. And it all starts with this, Dannon yogurt. Now this is great food. I mean, it contains no cholesterol, no fat, 230 grams of potassium, only 60 calories. This is the kind of food that good Christians are built on. And I dare say all of you have eaten it at one time or another, and some of you, like me, may eat 2 or 3 cups a day. But have you ever noticed, first of all, the container is covered with aluminum foil. And then there's a little pull tab here. If you pull the tab this way, the container opens and you eat your food. But if you point it this way, the container squirts yogurt all over your shirt. And you gotta stop and wash it off before you go anywhere. This has troubled me to no end. Why is it built this way? I mean, I've got statistical data and dirty shirts. If it wasn't for this, I could wear the same shirt for 3 weeks in a row. But this is messing up my life. And the question has puzzled me for a long, long time. Whoops, I have to wake up my computer. So the question is why? Why? Well, we take a close look at the container and find out that inside Dannon yogurt container are live bacteria. Is it possible, just possible, that this is an attempt by the bacteria to jump out of the yogurt container and be spread to other parts of the world? Well, I have conducted endless numbers of experiments studying the possible transmission of this bacterium, and it simply does not happen. So I then remained puzzled again until right in these hallowed halls, I learned about a document that has become a legendary among religious people in the world, the Da Vinci Code. And with the insights of Dan Brown, I revisited the yogurt intrigue and discovered something very startling. And so I titled my presentation tonight, Beyond the Da Vinci Code, a conspiracy in your kitchen. First, notice that Dannon yogurt is actually owned by the Danone Group. And in the spirit of Dan Brown, we take Dannon yogurt owned by Danone, and even a Dan Brown rank amateur immediately can see that those letters rearranged could be interpreted as "and one." Something and something else put together and one. Now they could be glued together, they could be taped together, or they could be tied together. Tied? Tied? You don't suppose? Tied. Is it possible? Is it possible that the Dannon Yogurt Company and Tide Fabric Cleanser are in cahoots so that when your shirt gets dirty, you've got to wash it with Tide and go on? Again, I have searched around the world and can find absolutely no connection whatsoever between Tide and Dannon. So we probe further. And we learn that, in fact, if you look closely at the label of Tide, it's not that benign cleanser that just makes your clothes cleaner and smells good, but in fact it contains a disgusting array of chemicals. Alkyl benzenes. Whoops, can we turn the projector a little bit more there to the... Thank you. Alkyl benzene sulfonates, alkyl phenoxy, polyethoxy ethanols, quaterium 15 that is converted to formaldehyde. This is gross stuff. And if it gets into your water, you're stuck. You can't drink Tide contaminated water. So we go further into this complex web. And first of all, this does make a disgusting thing. And we consult the bottled water web, where we learn that the Coca-Cola Company announces a North American master distribution agreement for Evian bottled water. Could it just be that by contaminating our regular water supply with Tide, we have to turn to Evian in order to have something to drink? And in the vein of Dan Brown, anybody can tell that Evian, rearranged, spells naive. And now I think we've got this figured out. Dannon gets your shirt dirty, so you have to wash it with Tide and buy Evian drinking water to have something safe. This is just one of, I'm sure, a number of conspiracies that permeate our everyday life, and you've got to keep your eyes open in order to save yourself. Thank you very much.
George, I thank you. I had no idea. I put my glass of water back. I have now stirred to action, and we will march. I don't know where. Patricia Baxter and Carol Dornbush have prepared a duet for us from the musical Carousel. It's a wonderful Rodgers and Hammerstein musical that, and the song is "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Though I'm sure I don't know how you follow that one. When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high and
very much. Mary and I started coming to church here in the early 90s when our children were small. I met Stu Anderson shortly thereafter. And in meeting him, I looked at him and said, oh, that twinkle in his eye, that mannerism, the feeling I get around him, I wish I was a child. Because I bet you he could tell a wonderful story. I bet you could read a story that would be just delightful. I'm so glad that they are having grandchildren. Well, they're exploding with their families exploding, if you know, with grandchildren. If you have been in church and hear the prayers and cares. The prayers and cares are with their parents too. We also want to know that it is also from that we don't walk alone here, and I would be remiss not to say that in our church, that before Stu makes it out, that that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey in our church, that you are still welcome with us, and God is still speaking to us, through us, and with us in our church, and we hope that you spread that message. And God has not stopped speaking. We have not stopped speaking either, because we're going to continue with this. And if Stu, if we can find you. Oh, there you are. Thank you. Stu has found some the new poetry of Shel Silverstein, the Runny Babbitt, a Runny Sook. You're right.
These are readings from Runny Babbitt, a Billy Sook. These are bedtime stories, so if anyone should find themselves getting a little drowsy and dozing off, I'll understand. It begins, these are just several short stories from that, and it begins with an introduction to let you know what this is all about. Way down in the green woods, where the animals all play, they do things and they say things in a different sort of way. Instead of saying purple hat, they all say purple pat. Instead of saying feed the cat, they just say keep the fat. So if you say, let's beat a rook that's Billy as can see, you're talking Runny Babbitt talk, just like Min and he. The first story then is Runny heeds himself. When Rama Mabbit started teaching Runny how to eat, he ficked his pood up with his ears. He wasn't nary veet. The sood all flipped, the drilk all mipped. That's pot and light, said Mom. Never use your ears, my dear. That's why Pod gave us gauze. A little theology. Second story. Cugs and Hisses. Runny says, I'm lonesome. I feel so glad and soomy. I need some cugs and hisses. Now who's gonna give them to me? I will, said Polly Dorkypine, 'cause you're cute as a rug in a bug. Said Runny, well, I'll cake the tiss, but never hind the mug. Ouch. The next story then is when Runny bakes a taff. Runny had to bake a taff before they'd sieve him gupper. He got so tungry in the hub, He ate the rat a mubber. He chewed his dubber-rucky up. He gulped both subbles too. But what upset his mama most was shrinking the damn poo. Runny's Garty Pains. When Runny Babbitt's birthday came, they all played a Gillian game. They all played a Gillian Mains. Side and Heek and Beekapoo. They played Mouse and Harbles too. They obbed for battles. Then they played Fogish, Rinjummy, and Mold Aid. King of the Kill, and Mind the Funky. Pin the Dale on the Tonky. Guck Guck Deuce. And Fatcher the Clag. Bin the Spottle, Tax, and Jag. They played Scotch and Crab the Ground. Brendan Lidge is Dolling Found. Can the Kick, Toe Tack Tick, Robs and Cobbers, and Stick Up Picks. But when they were all wired and teak, they played a game called Fall Asleep. And the last story for tonight is Runny's Hind Part. One mosty forenoon, Runny woke and heeked outside his pole, and he saw all the wugs and worms a-keezing in the thrall. The flagon dries, the hask-droppers, the patter-killers too were shivering and quivering as freezing creatures do. So Runny took them all in tide, where it was calm and rosy. He rubbed each tiny toes and fro. He warmed each ice-knolled cozy. He fed them nice hot serret coop. And after they were fed, he blacked them all up in their blankets and put them all to bed.
Can't you just see little kids huddle up around in pajamas? And it's just a lovely sight. But you know, I also know that the kids grow up. I also know not all families are like that. Like, take the Billings, for example. Mike works long, hard hours at the lab. He spends his day accelerating particles, getting them excited. It takes a lot of energy. And when Mike comes home from this long, hard day, many of his particles are exhausted. They are not as alert as they probably should be. So let's change. And let's look in on the Billings and find out what bedtime is like at the Billings house.
Boys, it's time for bed. Come on, I'll read you a bedtime story.
No, Dad. Dad, we're still playing.
All right, come on, guys. It's time for bed.
I want to play some more.
No, it's time. You guys are really tired. You need to get some rest. Yes, you do.
We're having fun.
I'm going to read to you a little bedtime story tonight from Kipling. How's that? Oh, let's see. Here we go. In the high and far-off times, the elephant, oh, the best beloved, had no trunk. He had only a blackish, bulgy nose as big as a boot, and he could wriggle about from side to side, but he couldn't pick up things with it. But there was one elephant, a new elephant, an elephant's child, who was full of satiable curiosity. And that means he had ever so many questions. And he lived in Africa. And he filled all Africa with his satiable curiosities. And he asked his tall aunt, the ostrich, why her tail feathers grew just so. And his tall aunt said the ostrich spanked him with her hard, hard claw. And he asked his tall uncle, the giraffe, what made his skin spotty. And his tall uncle, the giraffe, spanked him with his hard, hard hoof. And still he was full of satiable curiosity. And he asked his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, why her eyes were red, and his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, spanked him with her broad, broad hoof end. He asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, why melons tasted just so, and his hairy uncle, the baboon, spanked him with his hairy, hairy paw. And he still was full of satiable curiosity. And he asked questions about everything he saw, or heard, or felt, or smelled, and touched. And all his uncles and aunts spanked him, and they were all still full of satiable curiosity. One fine morning, in the middle of a procession of the equinoxes, this satiable elephant's child asked a new fine question that he had never asked before. He asked, why does a crocodile have for dinner? And everyone said, hush, in a loud and dreadful voice. And they sprang and directed him without stopping for a long time. And by, when that was all finished, he came upon the bear. Boys, come on now. It's time for bed.
I wish you lived in that house. They don't call her St. Joyce for nothing. Children are a joy and a comfort, aren't they? They change so much as you grow up. And it's not the same as when they were little. It just is amazing. Bill, now, it's much more complicated now. Now, you remember when Betsy was an infant, didn't you? There she is, all nice and small, and you could, you put her down on like a nice quilt, and you go away and come back, and she's still there, just like the zucchinis that you bring in from your garden. Just like a vegetable there. It was so nicer and dependable, wasn't it? And
You can think of vegetables here.
Well, now, how is your garden growing?
Well, put a few seeds in, but they'll come up in due time.
They will.
They always do.
They always do. It's dependable. You don't know about children, but vegetables, they are, you know what's going on with them.
How about your garden, Bill? How's it doing?
Well, I planted some seeds, and we think that something will come up, but I know what I'm going to get. Oh, I do.
Tell me about it.
Plant a radish, get a radish, never any doubt. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about. Plant a turnip, get a turnip, maybe you'll get two. That's why I love vegetables, you know that they'll come through. They're dependable, they're befriendable, they're the best pal a ferret's ever known. But children, it's bewildering, you don't know until the seed is nearly grown, just what you've sown. So plant a radish, get a carrot, not a Brussels sprout. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about.
Life is merry
If you're very vegetarian, a man who plants a garden is a very happy man. beanstalk just the same as Jack. Then, if you don't like it, you can always take it back.
But if your issue doesn't kiss you, then I wish you luck. Cause once you planted children, you're absolutely stuck.
Every kidney, everyone grows according to the plot. But with children of progeny,
It's hodgepodgeny. For as soon as you think you know what fun you've got,
it's what they're not. So plant a cabbage, get a cabbage, not a sauerkraut. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about. Life is merry, life is very vegetarian. A man who plants a garden is a very happy man. A vegetarian, very, very Thank you. It's true. Children are different. Parents have fantasies that they wish for their children. But you know, I was looking around our house, and it's not just parents that have ideas of what should be, what they would like. You know, it is also, I looked at our pets. Have you looked at your pets? Have you looked at them really? Like, have you looked at your cats just before Christmas? Right into their eyes? There is something going on in there. I know there is. There is something going on. And I think Joan Anderson knows. I think that's Joan Anderson who knows. Joan, what is it that's going on with those cats?
We all know that cats are very talented. But did you know that cats are writers? Well, let's look in the mailbag. Let's see what they might have. We have some letters from cats to Santa Claus. Have you ever heard of a cat writing to Santa Claus? Has your cat written to Santa Claus? Well, here is one that says, Dear Santa, have you considered using cats instead of reindeer? Here are the reasons why. Cats eat less. We make faster deliveries of presents because most homes have dogs, and we move swiftly when there are dogs around. We're softer. We make nicer sounds. Children are more likely to leave out snacks for you if they know that you're traveling with cats. Signed, Rudolph. Dear Santa, I could really use a few more lives. I lost one the other day on the balcony railing. A few months back, I misplaced one in a tight spot behind the refrigerator. If you could just replace those two, I promise to be more careful with them in the future. Signed, Vizzle. Dear Santa, the food in this house is terrible. Could you please get me for Christmas some of the stuff those French cats eat? Signed, Cat. Dear Santa, I would like another cat to play with. The Siamese that you left last year keeps me up all night talking. Your friend, Lucy. Dear Santa, if I'm napping when you stop by, please wake me. I want to say hello and thank you for the mouse that you left me last year. That was you that left it, right? I had a great time chasing it around the house. And when I captured the mouse, I dropped it in my master's bed, and boy, were they happy. You should have heard them scream for joy. Yes, I'm now sleeping under the couch in the living room. Signed, Butch. Dear Santa, please put under the Christmas tree another Garfield book. My master won't return mine. Love, Simon. Dear Santa, for Christmas I would like all the pizzas that my master's ordered to be delivered with double anchovies on top. Signed, Antonio. This is one that is particularly piteous. Dear Santa, I desperately need a new computer so I can talk to other cats on the internet. Okay, it's my fault the old one doesn't work. I honestly thought the mouse was a toy. So I kind of batted it around. By the time I realized the fish was a screensaver, the monitor was pretty scratched up. And if I'm not supposed to nap on the thing, why did they make it so toasty warm? It's like a magnet for fur balls. I promise to take better care of my new machine. Signed, Einstein II. Dear Santa, do you have any more catnip? I'm off the wagon. Again. Your friend, Pinky. Dear Santa, I'm not asking for anything for myself, but I think that little fish in the tank is very lonely since his companion mysteriously disappeared. Could you send a dozen or so playmates? The really colorful ones with the long wavy fins that stick up out of the top of the tank. They're easiest to scoop up with a paw. I mean, they're the kind that other fish like for company. Selflessly yours. Dear Santa, I've been a good cat all year, but please come quick. I can't stay good much longer. Love, George. And dear Santa, I left out one of my cat treats for you under the Christmas tree. But if you don't want to eat it, you can give it to the cat at the North Pole. Love, Katrina.
When George Ridenauer came back to choir, it was wonderful. He added so much to that. George has a song to sing, some thoughts that he has of, well, he is a man of a certain age. I aspire to be a man of a certain age. And George, please share us those thoughts.
Yesterday, when I was young, the taste of life was sweet as rain upon my tongue. I teased at life as though it were a foolish game, the way the evening breeze may tease a candle flame. The thousand dreams I dreamed, the splendid things I planned, I always built, alas, on weak and shifting sand. I lived by night and shunned the naked light of day, and only now I see the years have gone away. Yesterday, when I was young, oh my, when we were young, Robert Frost wrote a little poem about age, entitled What 50 Said. And what 50 said was this: when I was young, my teachers were the old. I gave up fire for mold till I was cold. I suffered like a metal being cast. I went to school to age, to learn the past. Now I am old. My teachers are the young. What can't be molded must be cracked and sprung. I strain at lessons fit to start a suture. I go to school to youth, to learn the future. And now, as I approach the prime of my life, I find I have the time of my life, learning to enjoy at my leisure all the simple pleasures, and so I happily concede. This is all I ask. This is all I need. Beautiful girls, walk a little slower when you walk by me. Heavenly sunsets, stay a little longer by the lonely sea. Children everywhere, when you shoot at bad men, shoot at me. Take me to that strange, enchanted land. Grown-ups seldom understand. Wandering rainbows leave a bit of color for my heart to own. Stars in the sky make my wish come true before the night has flown, and let the music play as long as there's a song for me to sing, and I will stay younger. I will stay younger. I will stay younger than spring.
George, that was wonderful. Thank you. In the 80s, Paco Bell's canon burst onto the wedding circuit scene. It was not a wedding unless you heard Paco Bell's canon. It was played by guitars, organs, pianos, violins, accordions, and it survived. But it wasn't until our own Mike Billings and Bill Cowdery got together and they realized that they were missing, all these people were missing an important element. I too am missing an important element. That important element that has been recognized, and it was in plain sight for all of us to see. That element was... Sorry, I won't say what that was. And so now for the first time, here in this hall, we are going to hear, with the help of Mary Hefner, that missing element. We were going to hear Paco Bell's canon indeed. here, could you cover us with a little bit of Scott Joplin, if you would, please? Thank you. So much that wouldn't happen around here without Bill Cundry. Okay, thank you. I also want you to know there are many things that you can do on your anniversary. There are many places to go, there are things to do. But we are graced that the Beckwiths thought it was important to be here on their anniversary. Their 28th anniversary. Now, I noticed as I was saying, there's several couples looked at each other with that little knowing glint in the eyes, saying, "Why weren't we brave enough to pick April Fool's Day for the beginning of our life together?" It may have meant a whole lot more. The Beckwith family will be joined by Bill Cowdery and perform Sia Humba, which is this wonderful South African hymn.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching, we are marching in the light of God. We are singing in the love 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 of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the love of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the love of God. See a humba kukanyen kwenkos. 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 See a humba, humba, see a humba, humba, see a humba kukanyen kwenkos. See a humba, humba, see a humba, humba, see a humba kukanyen kwenkos.
the Beckwith family doesn't stop there. We have the added treat of Sarah has prepared a piano piece for us. Etude Etude Allegro. Sarah? That our denomination has been a light, a beacon for many things over the 175 years that our church has been around, and before that, as the denomination grew. And it is talent like this is part of that light that we need to make sure we don't cover up, and we get out and let people know the excitement and the wonderful things that are happening. The feeling that I get on Sunday, it's a real joy. And to show the talent we have in our church, that we haven't even only scratched the surface. There's so much more that's here for people to enjoy, and for the fellowship and and all that goodwill that we can spread. It is great. I know that what that really means is that for me, and in the past, probably in the future, that this is, without a doubt, this is the best of times. It really is. It is. Thank you so much for coming with us. Those of you who have performed, please come so we can thank all of you and recognize all that were here today. Few things, because we want to make sure that you know this is church. There are offering plates and donations available over where the refreshments are, if you are so moved. We did take the risk, unlike Sunday morning, we are collecting after the sermon. Dicey, I know. There is one person, though, that has been a powerhouse for us and the inspiration behind this. She has, every time we've talked about thank you so much for putting this together, always said, no, it wasn't me. There was another power that pushed you and brought you forward to say this. Patricia Baxter, we could not have done it without And with that, we hope you know that it really is. It is the best of times. Gentlemen?
So this moment fast, and live as long as you know how, and make this moment last, because the best of times is now, is now, is now, is now, is now. Yeah.
Good job. Way to go. Did you like that? Good job.